Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. What's going on, man?
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know what happened that first time. It was fucking like I heard my voice echo and then it just like went dead.
What I really appreciate was the fact that I just got a notification from Anchor that said that it was done processing. So I can't wait to hear that little audio snippet, whatever
Oh,
the.
it's probably gonna be our best one yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So do you want to go ahead and start it out since you've got the what you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to talk to me about?
Yeah, so welcome guys and gals and whoever the hell's listening to this fucking podcast. This is another episode of the Cleaning Out My Closet podcast. Yours truly, the everyone's favorite Mexican. We got our least favorite Puerto Rican Jew.
Woo!
But yeah, so last episode we did bring up, but we were kind of cutting short on time.
Oh, we
So I was like,
gotta remember to remind everybody that we're still recording separately. So
this.
the audio quality is going to be problematic since, like we've said it every episode since the pandemic has happened. We're not in the studio recording together and we have to do it through a third party app. So sometimes the audio might cut out, sometimes it might dip in quality in terms of like sound. So just bear with us. But go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, so like he was saying, with that third party app, we are limited to about an hour or 15, I think is what we figured out.
So stop with
And
shit.
yeah, so basically at that point, I had something to tell you, but we didn't really have enough time to discuss it fully. I didn't think so. I was like, we'll just do it for this podcast.
Right.
And so I mean, I'm pretty sure we talked about this before. You were a fan of like wrestling when you were a kid, right?
Oh, I was a huge, when I was a kid, I was a huge fucking fan. I was a
Right. I
massive
think
fan.
most kids like think like especially like our age, they definitely were into it. I mean, some people stayed into it until they're our age now. They're still into it.
That's yeah, that's I get
I'm
people
not
I
like
get people who stayed like on top of it. I do think it's weird when there are people who are our age and are like fanboys. Like anyone that's our age and they're just as into it as they were when they were like 8 years old, that's where it's weird to me. Like
see for
I definitely know a couple of people that are like super like heavy into that shit like still to this day, and although they're great people, it's definitely one of the weirder things about them.
I mean, well, apparently they're not alone though, because there is a huge following, and I mean, I always knew that there's a big following with pro wrestling and shit,
Right.
but I didn't realize how big there was of their fan base until just recently when one of you and ours favorite comedian Tom Segura
Yeah.
decided to do say some stuff about wrestling fans.
Oh yeah,
But
I saw that episode of the podcast. Yeah, they were
okay, you did
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, they were talking shit on like wrestling fan. It was funny. Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
literally called them fucking retarded.
Well, yeah, they were talking about, like the same thing I was saying, where it's like, grown men who are like, it's a real sport and they're amazing and look at these fantasy
Right.
athletes. It was like that YouTube video from like a couple of years ago that went viral. Like, well, it's probably been like a decade now, but
With the Britney one?
no, no, no. It was like a guy at like a semi-professional wrestling thing, like a showcase or some shit, and he started crying like they like he was like a fan in the crowd, and like the announcer came over to him, and they let him talk, and he was just like, I want to thank all of you men for giving your bodies to this sport, and he's like fucking weeping and it was just so fucking weird. It was so weird to see like a grown man. I think I was in like high school or middle school at the time, and it just like went fucking it blew up on YouTube.
That's fun. I never saw that video. I mean, to me though, honestly, it's not only just like wrestling. I think any like sports, like if there's a grown ass man that like worships like someone
Right.
at that, it's just a little weird.
I
Like,
think
don't get me wrong,
I
I'm a huge sports fan,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't like worship like you know what I mean?
But I think it's different with wrestling though because we all know it's fake. So it's like
Wait, wait, that's not real.
Yeah. Like imagine somebody got super hyped for like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Like they were like, like I can't believe that this year they had Pikachu flying above us. Like they just start fucking losing their shit for like the Dora the Explorer fucking floats and shit. And then like you tell them you're like, that shit's all fake, right? Don't you say that? Don't you dare fucking say that. And then they'll like wrestling fans will try and fight you because they have their terminology for shit. Like it's not fake. It's scripted. It's rehearsed. Yeah, all of those things mean it's fake. like
Yeah, I
like
mean, it's a show. I mean, it's definitely a
if you
show.
had a reality show and they were like and then it came out that it was scripted, like you wouldn't be like, oh, it's scripted, it's still real. Like you're like, no, it's fake. Like the word, it means fake. That's
It's
what that
staged.
means. All the words that they use to like make it to try and defend it are just like other words that mean fake.
No, and I'm on the same page as you on that. But the only thing that I do agree with, like some of the wrestling fans, is the people that like the actual professional wrestlers and shit. They do like work out. They do
Oh
a bunch of
hell yeah.
shit.
I mean, they're
So I
totally
mean,
fucking like they're
they're fucking in good shape. They're busting their ass doing that
yeah,
shit.
the men
So
and
I
the
mean,
women, yeah,
it's
they're
not
fucking
just
crazy. Well, but then I think it also goes to show you like there's a difference between what they do and what other athletes do. Like you take the CM Punk situation when fucking the professional wrestler CM Punk decided to leave wrestling, a fake. Let's be honest, it's a fake sport. It's a fake sport. It's an act. It's a show. They're putting on a show. Like,
you're gonna tell me Santa Claus isn't real next.
yeah. Wait a minute. So the Undertaker isn't really an Undertaker?
Hey, you take
Well,
those words out of your mouth right now, sir.
but like when that fucking guy stepped into like the octagon to try mixed martial arts, like a real fucking sport, he got lit up like over and over and over and over again. I mean, the man is just seriously untalented, and they've covered this extensively on the Joe Rogan Experience, so I don't even want to talk about it. But like,
Well, I mean, and also you got to think too, though. I mean, if you are like a professional wrestler and the WWE or whatever the fuck it is, the way you're training is way different than an actual MMA fighter because
yeah,
the MMA fighters are training to beat the fuck out of their opponent.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it's a way different thing. The other wrestlers, I'm sure they have some type of a little bit training in some type of martial arts or some type of wrestling or
well,
whatever,
it's
but
really
it's
just
not to that
training to like
extent.
you're training to the extent of like we want to make sure this looks good but not hurt each other. So
Right.
like you're basically going against like your instincts of like what you've been doing for however many years you've been doing it, you know what I mean? So like yeah, it's I don't know, didn't fucking Michael Jordan try to like play baseball? Like he left the NBA to try and play baseball at a certain point
Yeah.
and didn't he fucking suck at that?
Mm, it wasn't that he sucked. He was just better at basketball.
Yeah, well, because like you can be like the greatest basketball player of all time, or you could be like an okay professional baseball player. Which would you rather be? You know?
Right. Yeah, he definitely would not have been Michael Jordan if he was in baseball. Well, I mean, it's hard to say, but from the time he did play baseball, he wouldn't have been as big as he was
Yeah.
if he was playing
I mean,
basketball.
but like to both of those to in the same vein of those things, just having the courage to like step outside of your comfort zone and like go into one of those kinds of things that you really either have nothing like no real knowledge about or very minimal compared to the other people in there. That's
Hmm.
really impressive. Like although CM Punk proved that he is really just untalented and doesn't have what it takes. He's neither skilled nor talented and I enough to really hack it in the UFC. I got to give it to him that he had the determination and the bravery to actually like give up on his career, go for something entirely different that also like put his body and physical health in jeopardy to do when he could have just stayed in the doing professional wrestling, not having to risk his like getting himself actually hurt and like, probably made pretty good money or whatever. But
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I was crazy, like, because I was looking into it a little bit more after this whole debacle went down with this with Segura and the wrestling fans. And dude, some of these wrestlers, they make some fucking bank.
oh yeah, they're fucking killing it. Wait, so what happened? Are like wrestling fans coming after him or something like
Oh yeah, dude, they're tweeting at him. There's like videos and
that?
shit. Like
It's
people
funny
are
because
pissed.
I follow him on Twitter, but like I haven't really been like on Twitter that much this past week or anything like that, so I haven't seen anything. But that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the only thing I saw, I think he only did really one tweet about it, where he pretty much was just saying, if you don't, he's like, I like wrestling, you know, if you don't understand, it's a fucking joke. You're like basically, you know, you're a fucking retard.
You're Cajun, yeah, you're Cajun. Yeah, dude. No, that's I can't wait till his next special where he's got a joke about wrestlers. It's gonna be fucking hilarious.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be awesome. But that kind of brings me into what we've been trying to do for a while now, as far as a podcast episode.
Oh man, we've been trying to do this episode for the longest time, dude. The longest.
It's due to different, you know, scheduling, the fact that we've mentioned, you know, several times already that we're not able to actually physically be in the studio together. We got to kind of work scheduling out. The audio quality isn't always the best, and this is one we kind of wanted Ginger Sean. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, because they probably don't, it's the third guy of our podcast that randomly shows up when he wants.
I thought this was just a 2-man thing. What do you mean?
I, I mean, I don't really count him as a man, but he's there sometimes.
Yeah, we're gonna like we've got like it's like a gang initiation thing. We either have to beat him in or fuck him in.
Can we do both?
Yeah, I think he's requested both actually. If I look back at the forms.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, though, like I was saying, we wanted to do this with all three of us, but due to the fact of it just didn't happen, we decided to say, "Fuck it, let's do it now." Me and Brown Sean, because it's something that's more, you know, pertain to the fact when people were more quarantined.
Yeah, so
People are
yeah,
kind of leaving.
we've been trying to do this for a while, so much so that actually doing the episode might have it might have become sort of obsolete at this point because now that the quarantine seems to be lifting, or at the very least a lot of the restrictions seem to be lifting in a lot of states, and it's looking like quarantine might be ending soon, it kind of backfired on us because what we wanted to do this episode was to do a recommendation episode for shows and movies that we wanted to recommend to each other to watch during quarantine, and also for you guys, the audience, to watch as well. And so that's what this episode's basically going to be about. It may be long, it may be short. It's not going to be a lot of recommendations. I think in total we probably have like 5 or 6 altogether, since just the two of us, or something along those lines, you know. But
Yeah. With that being said, I mean, we kind of wanted to do like not typical TV shows that everyone's watching,
yeah, these
or
definitely aren't the like the A-list shows. We kind of wanted to go more for the like a little bit of like an underdog feel, like some shows and movies that either you most likely haven't seen, or we feel like maybe should deserve a little bit more recognition. So whereas we could have just recommended our favorite movies and shows, we decided to recommend movies and shows that aren't necessarily our favorites, but we think have a lot of merit that would go a long way for you guys to watch that most likely you haven't seen, you know? So with that being said, Julian, do you want to go first?
yeah, I can go first. I'm just gonna go. Do we just want to start with comedies?
Okay, comedies? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
And so before I start, I'll just kind of break it down too. We didn't want to flood you guys with a bunch of just random or just a bunch of movies and TV shows. So we kind of just broke it down to three just basic categories, which is going to be comedies, drama, and other. And we'll have one movie and one TV show for each one of those categories. So let's see. Get my list pulled up real quick. Sorry.
No,
All
you're
right. So
fine.
yeah, for comedies, I'm going to start with the TV show. It's going to be The League. I had to go with The League.
I should have known you were gonna you were gonna do that. Okay. Well, it's a good thing that we both fucking know that one. So if you want to go ahead and give it a little explanation to the audience as to what the league kind of is.
So I mean, I'm sure it's got a good following, but I feel like it's more of a kind of like a not a cult following, but
It's got a
just
specific audience.
exactly. And the humor in it is just great. You got everyone that's on the show pretty much is either some type of stand-up comedian or does something, on those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So every episode is just the craziest things that could happen, and it's loosely based around, all these friends that are in this, fantasy football league together, and the shitty things that they do to each other, and it's just
Yeah,
nonstop shitty. Like they're the most
it's
terrible people.
it's definitely just all in the pursuit of beating each other. I feel like it's a great show for you and your friends to watch, at the same time. Like you don't necessarily have to watch it together, but I think you and a group of your friends, like it's an amazing show to watch together because it really illustrates like the kind of competitive nature and like sort of what is it, roasting culture, like where you just
Oh no, for sure.
fuck over your friend. Like that's the way you actually love your friends, is like you just completely fuck them over, roast
Oh,
them
and shit on
constantly.
them as much as you
Yeah,
can.
exactly. You just do the worst things to each other, and that somehow makes your relationship even stronger. So, yeah,
And the
it
thing I
honestly.
really like about it too is the fact, like I said, it's based, about a bunch of group of friends that play fantasy football, but you don't even necessarily have to be like know anything about football to, find it funny,
Yeah,
which is the really
I
good
don't know
thing.
shit about football, honestly. I don't know fucking anything about it, and I was like, had no problems comprehending like what was going on in the show. Like even some, obviously because sometimes they'll have like actual NFL players like show up in the show, which was
Right.
always great. It's always funny to see professional athletes try to act too. Like they're all fucking terrible at it. They're all fucking
I will
horrible.
give it though. JJ Watt was hilarious.
Oh yeah, he was pretty good. I would say out of like professional athletes that I've seen act, the only one I can think of that's ever done a good job in my mind is like LeBron James.
What
Like,
has he acted in?
you ever saw that shitty movie Trainwreck?
Nah,
He was actually pretty good in that.
was he?
Movie's kind of trash, but like it's not like irredeemably bad. It's just kind of generic, I guess. But
Oh, okay.
he's actually pretty funny. It's like a like romantic comedy with like Amy Schumer and Bill Hader.
Yeah, I think I remember. I remember seeing like the fucking trailers and shit for when it came out because it's a couple of years old now.
Yeah, but anyways, you want to go on to your movie?
Yeah, yeah. So for my movie on comedies, I picked. Then this is going to be another one that I know you love as well. But the other guys, I feel like that one's so underrated as a comedy movie. It's so fucking quotable.
Really, you feel like it's underrated? I
I
feel like
do.
everyone's seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just hanging around the wrong people because anytime I bring up or quote anything from that movie, like like they just look at me like, what the fuck? Like you've never seen the other guys? They're like, what do you mean? Like the fucking movie? Like,
Yeah,
nah.
yeah,
So
where
maybe
he's
it's just me.
like the part where they're sending messages back and forth, Will Ferrell and his wife in the movie, and
Yeah.
they're using the grandmother to send the messages back and forth because he's like in hiding from the police because he's like wanted or whatever, and they
Uh,
start like they start having her exchange like their sexual conversations. So she's having to go between each other and like explain how hard her fucking granddaughter is gonna suck Will Ferrell's cock and shit, and like how hard he's gonna fuck her back. Like it's just the most ridiculous fucking movie ever. Yeah,
I'm a
that's
peacock. You gotta let me fly.
yeah, it's insane. I thought that movie is fucking great. That's a spectacular movie. That's one of those comedies in the last like I don't know, like 10 years that's really worth watching it over and over and over again. Like it never gets old. It's one of those great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those comedies that like you said, you can just put on no matter what and watch it and still get the same like genuine laughs that you had the first time you watched it.
As much as I like that movie, and actually I would say I love it, but like if I was gonna pick a like a buddy cop comedy movie, my and this isn't I'm not doing my list yet, but what I would just say for me, I would pick Hot Fuzz. That is
Oh,
that is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's done by one of my favorite directors. It's got, Simon Pegg and him as the writers. So it's so fucking good. Every aspect of it. The writing is so fucking clever. The acting is incredible. The editing, the directing, like the whole fucking thing. It's just that's quotable as fuck to me, dude. I feel like I quote that on like a daily basis almost.
no, I really like that one. I like pretty much all the movies that they've done. Fucking Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
What was that other one?
I thought
Yeah,
about
they've done really good ones.
I had that on my list at first, but then when I realized that we wanted to do something more, instead of just recommending our all-time favorites, we wanted to recommend like stuff that not like necessarily everyone has seen. I took it off my list because I was like, no, everyone has seen this fucking movie. If you haven't seen it, you're fucking greatly missing out. That's incredibly sad if you haven't seen that movie. Definitely go check that out. But since you're done with yours, I'll move on to my comedy list. So for the TV show, I've got Nathan For You.
Okay.
Ever heard of it?
I think I've watched a few episodes with my brother when he was down here like a year ago.
I honestly think it's one of the funniest shows ever made. It's so fucking clever. Like there's absolutely nothing, I think, when I just think of raw, cringy, hilarious comedy, there's nothing better than this. Like it surrounds the idea of this guy uh who works as a business consultant, and he's obviously a comedian, and the whole show is fake, but the businesses he's consulting are real, and the businesses don't know that the show is fake. They have absolutely no idea, and you'll think like, oh, that's not true. Watch the show. I'm telling you, they're not actors at all. They have no idea, and this guy comes up with the most ridiculous ideas. In the first episode, he gets contacted by a yogurt shop that's trying to grow its business, and his idea is that they need interesting flavors that other yogurt shops don't
Oh my
have.
God, that's the episode I watched.
And then yeah, it's the first one, and then they go and he decides, well, what's an interesting flavor that they don't have? Poop. So there's a company somewhere, I don't fucking know where, but they'll actually develop flavors of anything. If you send them a description for something, they'll develop a flavor for it. So there's actually a formula for the taste of shit, of fucking shit. And they have the formula, and they made it, and they actually developed frozen yogurt that tastes like fucking shit. And then they started
Taste
selling
and
it.
looks like shit.
they started selling it, and the look on the customers' faces as they put on like a sale so that they could get people to come in and start like really trying it out. They're like, we've got poo flavor, guys. They had flyers and all kinds of shit, and they've got these fucking the look on these people's faces are like, what the fuck? They're like, what'd you get? He's like, I got bubble gum and poo. And it's fucking disgusting. Oh man, I think
How's your shit taste? It tastes like shit.
honestly, one of my favorite episodes though was he does like a tax rebate episode, not a gas rebate episode, which is basically like you only have to pay like this amount of money for gas, and then you get like a huge rebate, like a crazy fucking huge rebate. Like basically the gas station wants to figure out a way to make more money but give less gas, which obviously there's no way to do that. So Nathan comes in and he's like, well, we'll give them this rebate. So basically they have to go through this crazy long process to get the rebate back to earn this amount of money that they want back. And nobody's crazy enough to do this. And it turns out that there are plenty of people crazy enough. So he sends them, like, they all have to basically go on a mission, like these fucking random people who just want this money from this rebate because of the whole gas thing. They wind up going into the mountains in the desert in the middle of their fucking day. He's just like, so if everybody's ready to go right now, we have to go right now. And they're like, oh yeah, we're ready. Like apparently none of these fucking people have anything to do in their lives. And so
Where does he film this at? Is it in Cali?
I think it's in California, but he might also like just go around the country. I'm not sure. But yeah, they go into the fucking like desert, mountains, and all kinds of shit. And then he winds up telling them, okay, now you've got to stay here overnight. So then they like camp in the fucking mountains, and a couple of people wind up leaving. They're like, fuck it, it's not worth it. Like blah blah blah. They're there for like 2 days. Everyone has like an existential crisis, and they all start like discussing the like finality of the universe and shit. And it's just the most ridiculous show. And at the end, he reveals to them that it was all bullshit and there was no fucking rebate. And everyone's like so buddy buddy with each other because of like how much they've bonded that they didn't even care.
Dude, that's priceless.
It's honestly the greatest show of all time. Like seriously, he did like a pizza episode where if you don't get, it's like I think it was like 5 minutes, or you get a free extra pizza. And the pizza guy was like, "That's not even fucking possible. There's no way we can do that. Like, it's a great deal, but it's not possible." So he goes, "Yes, but the pizza will only be an inch big."
Yes, I did see that episode as well.
So it's like
It's like a
literally
bunch of little
it's
pizzas.
like the size of the palm of your hand. And they're like, "Oh, it's been more than 5 minutes. Where's my free pizza?" And then they hand him a tiny little box.
People got pissed.
I
People got
fucking
so
love it.
pissed.
I love it so much. It's so funny because it says it in the fine print of it doesn't say a size or anything like that. So he always comes up with these fucking loopholes.
That's
But
awesome.
definitely, guys, check out Nathan For You. You can watch the whole series on Hulu if you want. It's fucking incredible. Like, it's so worth your time. It's such a watchable show. It's incredibly bingeable. Just drop in on any fucking episode. There are like obviously like great ones, but just drop in on anyone and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. It's an amazing show. And this guy is so stone faced. He never laughs or anything. He'll present
Dude,
the
that's the
most
scariest
ridiculous
part.
idea and he can do it without breaking. And that's what's crazy about it. He did an episode where a child had an earpiece in his ear and he went in for a job interview and he only repeated what the child said to him in his ear. Like, that's it, during an actual job interview. And the job interview was not fake. He went into a real job with no qualifications and he only repeated back to the person interviewing him what the child was saying to him.
I'm about to watch that. I'm sure.
It's literally the fucking most crazy thing, dude. It's insane. It was like a 6-year-old kid. Like, they barely were fucking like comprehensive with the language they were using. But anyways, that's my show. So for my comedy movie, I'm gonna have to go with Young Frankenstein. Ever seen it?
Oh, you're pulling the oldies. Well, I mean, it's pretty old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. It's like 70s or something.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen it once
oh man.
when
Oh
I was like
God.
really young.
I fucking love this movie. This is one of my favorite fucking movies. I would definitely say it's my favorite Mel Brooks movie.
Spaceballs, bro.
Maybe. It's hard to say. Maybe my second favorite Mel Brooks movie. It's yeah. There's Spaceballs and then there's Blazing Saddles too.
Oh, that's fucking dude. I
So
think Blazing Saddles might be.
it's hard to say
Ah,
because he's
it's a
got
hard
so
one.
many good ones. It's really hard to fucking decide. I was never really a big fan of Robin Hood Men in Tights,
Nah, I didn't
but
like that. I mean, it
definitely
was okay, but
Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein. If you want the Mel Brooks trifecta, that's I think that right there like will give you like a perfect representation of him as a director. But anyways, Young Frankenstein is sort of a parody sequel to the like old like Frankenstein movies of like, I don't even know what era those shits are fucking from. Maybe the 20s if I had to guess. I honestly I don't know, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna tell
But
you yes.
but basically the idea is that Gene Wilder, who famously portrayed Willy Wonka in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, he plays the descendant of Dr. Frankenstein, or as it's referred to in the movie, Frankenstein. And he basically he is tasked with traveling back to, I don't know, it might be Transylvania or wherever the fuck it is, Bulgaria, some shit like that, because his uncle or grandfather has died and they've left the estate to him. And then upon his arrival, he's sort of like overcome with his familial destiny, like the idea that like his family is destined to create the Frankenstein monster. It's like it runs in their blood and he can't escape it. And the whole movie is a fucking comedy. The whole thing is this parody satire. It's fucking ridiculous. It's insane. It's all in black and white, and the performances are hilarious. The like the physical comedy, it still fucking holds up to this day. Some people might see it and find it a little, old fashioned looking, but I think that really adds to the charm of it. What do you pitch?
I'll say, yeah, no, the whole black and white thing, I think that's just an extra layer.
Yeah.
It just like it had to be done.
Yeah. No, it definitely adds to it for sure. Like I think one of the best jokes right at the beginning of the it's like pretty close to the beginning of the movie is when he gets on the train to travel, I think from New York City, and like it goes New York, and then every time it gets to a new like place, they'll announce it, like the boy is like, we're in New York, he'll like yell out or whatever, and then like we're in Chicago, shit like that, and he takes the train from New York and is traveling, and then all of a sudden he's like Transylvania, and you're like, so he took a train from New York to Transylvania. It's very subtle with its comedy. It's clever. It's got like this incredible wit to it, and it's so fucking good.
Well, that's just the way Brooks did it, though.
Oh yeah, like all his jokes are just like so fucking like, if you're not paying attention, then you're not giving the movie a fair chance. Like that's the basically how you have to look at his films. Like, you know what I mean? You have to really be sitting there and wanting to be entertained by something and really want to engage with it. Otherwise, you're not getting the full experience. And I feel like that's what's a shame to me about whenever I recommend someone watching something like a Mel Brooks movie. I feel like I have to sit there with them and like,
you have to fucking babysit them.
And whenever a joke comes on, I have to like pause and be like, did you get it? Did you get that one? So yeah, that's definitely mine. And we've got the incredible Gene Wilder playing Victor Frankenstein. And Peter Boyle playing the Frankenstein's monster, and a lot of you might know Peter Boyle as playing the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond. So yeah, those are my comedies. You want to move on to?
You talking about Ray Romano?
Yeah.
Not that dad. Yeah, we can go to dramas next, right?
Yep.
All right. So, like I was kind of saying at the beginning of this, I wanted to pick movies and shows that I thought people didn't watch. Obviously, I fucked up on the other guys. My bad. But these two, I definitely feel like a lot of people have not watched it, and I feel like you definitely probably have not watched them. So for my TV show, I chose Ascension. Have you ever watched that one?
Ascension. Why does that sound so familiar? I honestly I can't say that I have. So no, go ahead and sell me on this.
All right, let me sell you on this. All right, so it starts off, and it's almost like set. It seems like it's set like in the 60s, 70s, like era time, maybe a little earlier, and just normal setting and all that, and then all of a sudden you realize that all these people are in space, and the first thing that happens is there's a murder. That's like the first scene. It shows someone someone's dead. And so it kind of breaks into the story that these people were the last survivors from Earth, and they went up into space, and they've been in space for like 30 years, and this is the first murder in 30 years. And so like it's never happened before, so like they're freaking out about it, trying to figure out all this.
So familiar. Who's in it?
be honest with you, I don't think there's really anyone.
Like nobody notable.
Yeah, not that I could,
That's
and
interesting.
and I haven't seen this show in a while. But the thing that really got me, like that, like made me really like it, is there's a really crazy twist at the very end. There's only one season, and there's a twist at the end, and I'm so pissed because they never continued with it. But I feel like they could have really expanded on this twist that happened at the end of the season. And you really, like, I kind of saw it coming, but that's just because I'm always smoking and thinking like an idiot all the time. But most people probably wouldn't see this twist coming, and it's like it just hits you. You're like, oh shit, what's going to happen next? And there's no season two. That's the only thing that sucks about this show is
Huh.
there's no continuation. It just like leaves you on a fucking leaves you with blue balls.
I definitely want to check that out now. That sounds like really interesting. It sounds super familiar, but I can't place if maybe I've just heard about it and like always wanted to check it out and I just never did. That might be the case. But no, I definitely want to check it out for sure.
No, it was good from what like I said. I watched it a few years back, so I'm not even for sure what platform you could even look for it on. It was on Netflix when I watched it, but it's not on there anymore, so I'm not for sure where it's at. It just disappeared.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Next.
Next, my fucking TV or my movie. So this one, I'm 99.9% sure you never even heard of.
Nice.
So it's called Toy Soldier, and it's no, not Small Soldier with the toys. This is a different one. Toy Soldier. It's got the actor that plays Rudy. What's his name? Sean or
Oh,
Astin? Is his name Sean Astin or something like that?
yeah. From Lord of the Rings and
Yeah. Frodo's homie.
yeah, boy, Sam.
But this is like an older movie. It's like in the '80s, so it's like before. I'm pretty sure it's before Rudy. Definitely before Lord of the Rings. This is like a young Sean Astin or whatever the fuck his name is. And there's a couple other actors in there. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember who else is in it, but he's like the main character.
What's it about?
And so essentially, it's all these. They're teenagers, like maybe 18 and younger, and
Mm.
they're all at this like military school. And the main character, he's always, doesn't listen to authority. He's an asshole. He just does what he wants and is always fucking around. And so it turns out one of the kids that goes to the military school, his dad is involved with some like rival like terrorist group. So they go to the school to like try to kidnap him and shit, and they like hold the school down for hostage, and it's fucking nuts, dude. Like it's these terrorists that are like locking down this whole military school, and eventually oh shit, that was crazy.
You okay?
Yeah, no, the audio fucking cut in and out real. So yeah, the terrorists take over this military school, and eventually, they eventually get out. One of the guys get out, which is the main character. He gets, to the police, and they try to, figure some shit out. But the whole time, it's just imagine. I'm trying to. It's. I don't want to give it away because it's such a good movie. I feel like you just need to watch it.
Okay. Yeah. Don't give too much away.
Yes, I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of like did you ever watch the original Red Dawn?
Yeah, of course.
It's almost got like that vibe, but instead of them being like out, like in the forest and then going in, they're stuck in the town.
Okay. What's it
But
called?
the town, it's called Toy Soldier.
All right, I got you.
So I think you'll like that one, honestly.
All right, sounds good. Toy Soldier. All right, I've got mine now. It's funny because I actually changed my movie last minute.
Dude, I changed so many on my list, like so many times.
I decided to change my drama movie last minute because I was like, yeah, I feel like too many people have seen that.
What
But
did you originally have?
okay, so for my original for the movie, I'm going to talk about the TV show first. So when I get to the movie, I'll tell you what my original one was,
Okay.
and then I'll tell you how I switched it up. But for the TV show, I've got the show Everything Sucks. Have you?
I've never heard of that one.
Okay. So Everything Sucks was a Netflix original TV show that came out maybe like a year or two ago, something like that. I don't want to say exactly, but it had this it takes place in the 90s, and it's kind of like a coming of age. Think like Freaks and Geeks.
Okay.
You remember like that old show with
Oh yeah, with Seth Rogen,
yeah,
James Franco, fucking everyone.
yeah, like that gave them their start. It's very, very, very reminiscent of that. It's like how Freaks and Geeks kind of takes place in like the mid 80s, and this kind of takes place in like the early to mid 90s, you know?
Okay.
And so it's literally got like almost that exact same vibe. Like it really feel like, I bet if you asked them, they'd probably tell you it was heavily inspired by it. And I imagine that this show will one day gather the kind of cult following that Freaks and Geeks eventually found, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because it was what's it called? Critically, it was like really well received. It was so deserving of that. It was so fucking good. It's just like the main character is this young kid who's kind of obsessed with like film and like pop culture and stuff like that, because his dad left, and his dad was like a sort of like home movie filmmaker kind of guy, and all he has left to kind of relate to his father that he doesn't know is by watching the home movies that he made, you know what I mean? So it kind of builds this sort of obsessive nature in him that he like sort of falls in love with like music videos and making television and TV shows and movies and all of these things, and like the adventure of him and his friends actually deciding to make their own show, and he's the director and the writer, and he forms these relationships with all these other kids, and everybody's got their own issues, and it's just done so well, and it doesn't feel like it's pandering to anybody, but it feels like it really respects like everyone's different views.
How many seasons were there?
There's one season. It's really fucking good. It's real easy to watch. I think it's like 12 episodes. Each one is probably like 45 minutes long, something like that. And you know, there's like he falls in love with a character that it turns out is she's gay, and like she has to struggle with the fact that she's gay, and it's a struggle for him to like know that he's in love with her, but like and it's this whole thing, and the kids are like appropriately aged, like they hired actors that are like around the age, and they, or at the very least, don't look like they're fucking 30-year-olds playing like 16-year-olds.
I fucking love when they do that shit. It's like, this is my second oldest son, Timmy. He's 14. And he looks like he's like 35. You can see he's like 5 o'clock
exactly.
shadow.
There's it reminds me of this show that Benexi wanted me to watch that I thought was kind of generic, honestly, which was Never Have I Ever. It's this new show by the girl who played Kelly on The Office, and I think it's kind of okay, but it's mostly generic. And one of the characters is like supposed to be this dreamboat fucking hot guy, and he literally looks like he's fucking 36, like he's almost 40. Like you can see the wrinkles on his face and the fucking like where he has to shave his goddamn gray beard every day. Like he looks old as shit, and it's ridiculous. He's playing like a 17-year-old like dreamboat high schooler. It's insane. And I said that to her, and she was like, "It's funny that you say that because I looked it up, and he's like 32." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit. He looks like a grandfather."
I'm pretty sure that my grandpa and him go to the same bingo
But
on Tuesday.
this fucking show, it perfectly balances drama and comedy in the same way that I think Freaks and Geeks like really nailed. And I think it really makes you feel for all of the characters, even some of the ones that have done like not great things, like the same way it did with like James Franco and Seth Rogen's character. Like Seth Rogen was a huge prick in Freaks and Geeks, but towards the end of it, you kind of feel for him because he like shows sides to himself that you didn't see at first. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it does that a lot with this show. And
Is there
I
any
think
actors in it that are like kind of like known, or is it just a bunch of unknown people?
it's mostly like small scale, but like the talent is ridiculous. There's not a bad like there's not a bad cast in it. You know what I mean? Like all of the kids are so fucking talented. you would believe that they're like seasoned actors for like 20 or 30 years. Like they sell their performances so well when
That's
they
good.
cry, when they feel like emotions, when they're joking around, like you genuinely feel like you're watching kids like play and have fun or like really going through tough fucking situations. And it's super upsetting that it got canceled before it could get a second season because nobody watched it. And it was a hugely it critically it did so fucking well. It did really well. People responded, critics responded really well to it, and it definitely deserved the praise it got, but
It was a
audience
Netflix original, you said?
yeah, audiences were not having it. So definitely go check out Everything Sucks, guys. It's really good. And yeah, you might see some of the other actors in there doing different things now. I know I've seen one of them
We would
in that
hope so.
HBO show, Euphoria. She's really good in that. One of the characters from the show. So yeah, definitely go check that out. Now for my movie. So originally, what I had put on for my movie was Arrival. Have you ever seen Arrival?
Oh, that's the one with that one Howard chick, right? No, no, not Howard.
Howard.
No, I'm thinking the
Okay,
wrong.
so
I've seen it.
Arrival.
The
Arrival stars Amy Adams
Adams. That's
and
who it was.
Jeremy Renner. It's like a alien contact movie. Like I really thoroughly enjoy that movie. I think it has like
Yeah,
a
Hawkeye was
lot of
really good
yeah, it's got really interesting concepts and it's all presented in such a masterful way. And I don't want to discourage people from seeing that. But with that being said, I feel like more people have probably seen that movie than the movie that I want to recommend, so I'm going to switch it up. Although I would normally recommend Arrival because I think it's presented in such an incredible way. I'm going to switch it up with this movie because I think this is such
Before
an
you do that,
underrated.
real quick, have you seen Encounter with I think it's an older one. It has Helen Hunt, I think.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, go ahead, then. Sorry, I just had to say that.
No, you're fine. So the movie that I'm going to recommend is the movie Sunshine. Have you ever seen it?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, now definitely check out Sunshine. So, okay. Sunshine was I want to say maybe like mid 2000s, somewhere around there. I know it was definitely before 2010. I can't tell you exactly what it is without like looking it up and shit, but it's a fucking really good movie. When I took notes on these, I only took notes on the stuff that I really needed to remember. I didn't bother like putting like it was made this year, it made this much money,
Right,
shit like
right,
that.
right.
So
'07.
it's what's it called? It's basically a sort of the near future. The sun is going out, which would basically mean the end of humanity, essentially. So they have to send a team of scientists to go set off a nuclear bomb on the sun's surface to restart the sun, essentially, so that humanity can be saved. It's one of those fucking movies that comes along once in a while that really is just the stakes don't need to be higher than what they are. There are no higher stakes than humanity's very existence being threatened. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to have oh the captain is secretly a rapist and he's gonna like kill everybody and he wants to rape the main character who's like this hot chick or something like it's no nonsense or anything like that. It's literally this super intense fucking dramatic like are we gonna save the world or not, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's got an all-star fucking cast there and it's a bunch of people from before they were fucking
Oh,
famous too.
Chris Evans.
Oh, you're looking it up?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
because it sounded
Killian Murphy.
familiar, but no, I haven't seen this one, but it sounded familiar. So I was like, let me check it real quick.
Yeah, Chris Evans, Killian Murphy. I would say Killian Murphy plays definitely the main character. Rose Byrne, fucking God, I'm trying to think. Benedict Wong. Like some
Yeah,
may or may not know who Benedict Wong is, but yeah, definitely. But anyways, it
that's
is
funny that Chris Evans and Wong played in this one, and then ended up
yeah
working
right.
together in whatchamacallit.
So it's directed by Danny Boyle, who's the same director as Trainspotting, 28 Days Later, 127 Hours. And so it is just done so fucking well. I mean, they really emphasize the fact that like it's it's all about the drama of the situation at hand, and they don't need to add like some type of outside influence or something like that to it. And all the character decisions, you know, when you watch a movie and you just go, that's so fucking stupid, no one would do that. You don't have to worry about that in this movie. Everything feels so smart because it is. Characters take their mistakes personally because they make the mistakes. You know,
I'm gonna have to check this one out then because that looks really good.
it's a fucking incredible movie. You'll love the soundtrack is amazing. There's a song that was made specifically for this movie that has since been used in so many fucking like shows, movies, trailers that it's fucking a little obnoxious at this point, to be honest, but it's because it's such a good fucking song. And you'll watch this and you go, "Oh man, this movie's so
This is
fucking
a
good."
baby got back.
Yeah, it does take a turn at maybe a little more than the halfway point in the movie, and that's where people kind of started to fall off of it because it kind of moves a little bit more into absurdity with some type of reveal that happens that I don't want to get too heavy into. But I think ultimately, overall, the main focus of it, I think it doesn't lose itself to that thing. Although people might criticize it for it, it definitely doesn't lose itself to that. And I will say, for those of you who are like, well, what about the person who wrote the screenplay? What have they done? So the person who wrote the screenplay wrote the same
I don't
screenplay
think
for
anyone's asking that.
Ex Machina and Annihilation, which I think are two incredible movies. They were both not to say that they're both perfect, but they both are really fucking good. Like what they are doing, they're doing it so fucking well. It's incredible. So if you have any inclination, if you've seen any of those other movies, any of the movies that the director directed, or any of the movies that the screenwriter had written, then you're definitely going to want to check this one out. It's earlier in both of their careers, but it really showcases how good they were even then and how much of a shame it was that this movie was basically forgotten about because people just basically didn't go and see it. You know what I mean? It was during a time when none of those people were big names in Hollywood too. Like Chris Evans was a fucking nobody in 2000 and whatever.
7.
Okay, 2007.
It's got a good rating though. I mean, it's got a 7.2.
It does, yeah. Critically, it was fucking like.
Oh, it's rated R. I like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's super real. Like you're never gonna watch it and be like, "Oh, this feels like bullshit." Like you can watch it over and over again and notice a bunch of small fucking details, like over and over again. And you go, "Oh, that's why the character did that." If you're ever thinking like that doesn't make sense, watch it 2 or 3 times and then you go, "Oh, now I get why he made that decision. I totally get it." Like it's just one of those fucking films that hits the mark so perfectly. But
I'm gonna have to check that out then.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend it. So go ahead and watch Sunshine, guys. It's a really great fucking film. Trust me on this one. Do you want to do any more? Because we do have our other category, and we've also got a shit category. So
yes,
the other category was for films and TV shows that we didn't feel necessarily fell too far within drama or category or too outside of it. It's somewhere in between. So we didn't want to categorize it specifically into one or the other. And then the shit category is for film and TV shows that we think are just total garbage.
And so for my TV show, I mean, I know it's a comedy, but there's a lot of like real shit that happens into it, and like you're watching it, you're laughing the whole time, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this is like it like hits you like in a weird, real way. So that's why I kind of put it as the other.
Right.
This show you've seen for sure. I'm sure a lot of people have as well, but this is like just one I fell in love with, and I just had to like just say something about it, which is Dave. And I know you and I have talked about this several times, just on the phone, of just how good this show is.
Yeah. No.
And so I just really just couldn't leave it off this list because this is something I've watched recently. and it's just one of the like I've watched a lot of TV shows, and as far as like comedy goes, it's really like up there with some of the greats. But it, like I said,
Yeah,
it also has these moments where you're just like, holy shit! Like it just makes you like just it just feels so real.
it reminds me of do you remember Donald Glover's show Atlanta?
Yes.
It reminds me of that in the sense that like it feels like someone with a really interesting and unique perspective has something to say, and they also have the talent to say it in a unique way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it gives me that vibe. And like also of course because they're both from FX, like I'm sure there was a lot of cross between, whatever teams worked on either show, either or. But it definitely gives me, it's more comedic of course than I think Atlanta was. Not to say that Atlanta wasn't a comedy or anything like that, but I think it leans heavier on the comedy, I think,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Dave definitely does lean heavier on the comedy,
but
and
it's got some seriously like deep and heavy moments though, for sure. Like some of the displays of acting ability on that fucking show on Dave, holy shit.
one that's the thing that actually made me fall in love with it even more is after doing a little bit more research and just kind of just like looking into the show, like all those like if you watch the show, you know who the character Gata is. That's like
Mm-hmm.
Dave's hype man. So
Yeah,
in real life, that's Dave's hype man.
yeah, yeah,
So like the fact that he does there's an episode where his acting is just so believable. You're just like you just want to like cry like holy shit like damn
yeah. I fucking cried in that episode.
dude,
I
it was
honestly,
nuts.
I really believe, I thought like in that time I was just like, wow, this actor, whoever he is phenomenal. And then you find out he's his hype man in real life. I was just like, holy shit, dude.
And the crazier thing is too, like before that episode, it just kind of sets like he as a character doesn't really have too much. I mean, he's got some depth to him, but not a lot. They
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't
for sure.
highlight him as much as he's kind of like more of like the side character or one of the side characters. And so when you fully get to like see him and just see like him just do the things he does, it's like holy shit. He's like it's just crazy. And then, like I said, I looked into it a little bit more, and he's not like I was like this guy's got to be like a seasoned actor. What other movies he's been in? Nope,
Mm-hmm.
this is fucking Little Dicky's hype man in real life.
Yeah. No, seriously, dude. Like it was honestly there's so much about that show that we could both go in depth about. Like just what one thing I will say, like when I talked about that show that Benexi had brought up to me to watch, Never Have I Ever. It's this Netflix original show that like I was telling you, the girl who plays Kelly on The Office has, I guess she's the writer of it or the creator of it or whatever. It feels like somewhat when I watched the first episode, my initial thought was it reminded me of Dave in the fact that it was someone who had a unique thing to say, but where it differed is that I don't think they had um the ability to tell it in a unique way because it came across as super generic and the writing felt really out of place. It felt really complacent and like something that was written like 15, 20 years ago. It just didn't feel modern like to right now. Like whenever I hear high school students making references about like the 80s or something like that, I always just go that doesn't like what that's so fucking weird. Like why would you even do that? Like some kid like made a joke in the first episode because the main character like was in a wheelchair because she lost the ability to use her legs because of stress from her dad's death, and someone
Is
called
that a
her
thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a what the fuck is it called? I remember this from
Acting?
I think it's psychosomatic. So like when you're like some type of trauma can cause you to lose the
Oh
ability,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
or like stress or whatever. You can lose the ability to use your legs, your arms, to taste, to see. You can lose the ability to see. It's just yeah. But somebody called her. What the fuck did they call her? I'm trying to remember. It's that fucking president who was notoriously in the wheelchair, but like he would pretend like he wasn't in a wheelchair. I forget what he's fucking.
Oh, Roosevelt.
No. I know that it's
Oh
some.
no, I know. Oh, what the fuck was his name?
Anyways, it's not important.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways,
It's gonna drive me nuts
yeah,
though.
I was just like, what fucking high schooler would even know that? Because they don't. They didn't teach me that in high school. I learned that outside of high school, like watching things like documentaries and shit about like the presidents and stuff like that. Like I didn't know anything about the presidents except for like the like main like 10 that you always hear about every year, you know. So it just kept being references like
Oh,
to
it
shit.
was Roosevelt.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
But it was just really fucking. It was really fucking stupid. Like it just felt so out of place. It didn't. It felt so. I don't want to say disingenuous because it felt like she had something to say, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like she had the talent to say it. Maybe,
Well, and
and then
then
also,
also I think with the thing that with Dave that I love so much is I feel like he didn't really compromise what he wanted to do.
right,
So
yeah,
I
and that was
think,
kind of an essence of the show too. Is that like his character being that he is Dave is all about the the real life person Dave Bird who play is the rapper Lil Dicky in real life.
wait, I thought they were brothers.
Yeah, exactly. And then basically like how he didn't want to compromise ever in the whole show, like when it came to his artistic integrity about his music, because he understood that he had the capability to be the biggest like name in the rap game as long as he was himself. But like throughout the whole show, he's always trying to figure out who his authentic self is because he has like a sort of anxiety about that. He doesn't know like how much of Lil Dicky is like supposed to be like this fucking like gangster ass fucking rapper, or is it really just himself portraying a rapper, or is it more of a parody? Is it satirical? And it's kind of all of those things all at once, and it just comes off to be really interesting because you can tell that this show is an amalgamation of all of the things he's had to struggle with, although sometimes being exaggerated. It comes from a genuine place, and
Oh, and then you could definitely see that. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I liked it so much. Is it's it seems so real, but it's like so just like you said, exaggerated. But it's like you could see that happening.
yeah,
And
no, for
then
sure.
the fact that he was able to like most artists that are rappers do not want to portray a lot or even like do the things that he just done in this show. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think what was that episode 3 or 4 was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
the fact that he put that in a TV show that's going to be forever seen
Mhm.
it just makes me laugh even harder.
Yeah. So guys, go check out Dave. That's definitely a great show to fucking watch. It just finished its first season. It's uh up and ready to watch on Hulu. So definitely go and check that out. Support Little Dicky's new show. It's really, really, really great. What was your movie?
So my movie was, and this is one that I've recommended to both you and Ginger, and I don't think either one of you watched it yet, but Predestination.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit on one of the podcast episodes. All right, I definitely want to check it out. Okay.
No,
I
it's really good. I think this one, like, either toy, I don't know, you might like Ascension, but I think it's probably going to be between Predestination and Toy Soldier if you watch both of those.
I'll
But
definitely check them both out just because I've wanted to see Predestination for a long time now, and Toy Soldier sounds familiar to me, so I feel like I'm sorry, not Toy Soldier. What was it? Ascension? Yeah,
Ascension, yeah.
yeah. Ascension sounds really familiar. Like I feel like I've seen it somewhere, and I might have either seen something about it or you know what I mean. But I'm definitely going to check them both out because we've talked about Predestination. It's that Ethan Hawke movie where it's like a sort of time space conundrum.
Yeah, and with this one, I wouldn't
You know?
really want to give too much information about it because it's
No,
just
no,
one of
no.
those
I
movies you
honestly
have
I
to
don't want to talk
watch.
about it because it's something you have to watch.
Exactly.
I
So
already know enough to where I just want to go like, yeah, let me just watch the movie.
So yeah, so that's a recommendation that I'm telling you, definitely watch it, and then whoever's listening, watch it as well. Especially if you're into, sci-fi like movies,
Mind
but
fuck.
all mind, yeah, that
Yeah,
fuck
yeah,
your
yeah,
mind
yeah.
because this is exactly like, and it's so underrated because I've never like my brother is the one that told me about it. He like made me like he badgered me for like 2 weeks. He's like, dude, have you seen this movie? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it later. I'm gonna watch it later. He's like, no, stop what you're doing. Watch this fucking movie. So I was like,
Nice.
finally, I did it, and I was like, holy shit! I had to watch it 2 times
All
in
right.
a row.
All right, guys. So go ahead and watch Predestination when you get a chance. All right. So for mine, for mine, first thing I want to do, I'm actually going to switch it up. I want to do my movie first. So for my movie, I have a movie called John Dies at the End. You ever seen it?
Yep,
Oh, you have?
I have.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised, dude. Every time I talk to people about this movie, they've never seen it.
I watched it with an ex when it first came out, like on. I think I think we rented it from like the Red Box or some shit, like or no, or maybe we had it. I think we watched it. We definitely watched it on a laptop.
Well, so if you don't know, it's actually a book. And it's actually, well, there's actually two books. So the first book is John Dies at the End, and the second book is This Book is Full of Spiders. And I have both books because I fell in love with the movie so much that I looked into it so much that I found out it was a book series. And then Benexi wound up buying me the books, and they're fucking amazing. Like just as
I
good
might
as
have
the
to
movie
borrow
is.
those from you.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to. They're fucking incredible. But you've seen the movie. I mean, what's a shame? I think the biggest shame about the movie is that as it it didn't get like a super huge theatrical release. It also didn't have like a crazy huge theatrical budget or anything like that. But when you watch it and you can see how how fucking a lot of it is really cheap and like not great looking, that goes to show you how amazing the story is, that it's that good despite how fucking crappy some of the stuff in it might be because the budget was so low. And it got the attention of Paul Giamatti to play one of the characters in the movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's the reporter guy at the diner with the main character when he's recounting the whole story of the movie to him. That Paul Giamatti is that fucking guy, and it's just a crazy mind fuck, like insane. Like basically the book opens the same way the movie does, which is it's asking a hypothetical question to the audience essentially. So it asks you, imagine the idea is like you're chopping a head off. It's like super descriptive and interesting, and the way that it's presented in the books and the movies is much better than I'm going to do justice to it. But just bear with me, guys. So you're chopping off something, and then it's slowly revealed to you that you're chopping off a head, and then the axe that you're using, the head of the axe breaks. So then you go to the axe store, and you have to replace it, and you have to explain to the guy that you broke it and you've got barbecue sauce all over the thing and your hand slipped. It's like a whole lie, whatever, because you chopped somebody's head off. And they hand you a new axe head. You replace it. Then you're using the axe again sometime later, and the handle breaks. Then you have to go back to the store and explain why the handle broke. Blah blah blah. You replace the handle. So then the zombie that you killed at the beginning of the scenario when you were chopping the head off returns with his head sewn back on, busts open the door, and goes, "That's the axe that slayed me." And then the guy goes, "Is he right?" And it was this long-winded fucking discussion about this crazy-ass scenario just to ask you the question of, is that the same axe that cut his head off? Because the idea being that you've replaced both the components that made up the original axe. You replace the head, change it to a different head, and now you've replaced the handle. Is it still the same axe that killed him? And the whole fucking book and movie is a crazy mind fuck of supernatural proportions that's hilarious and intense and crazily well written. both the book and the movie. And if it would have gotten a really big theatrical release, I would see that movie being huge, just massive. You know what I mean?
No, it was definitely a really good movie. I have, like I said, I watched it the one time, but I do remember it was pretty good. I want to read those books though, because especially since
Oh,
there's two of them.
it's so good. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so fun. And the author of the books named the main character after himself.
nice.
So it's basically like the books are supposed to be like a recounting of the events that actually happened. So it's sort of like they're kind of fourth wall breaking. Like they know someone is reading them, and they kind of tell you like, don't read these books. Like there's a whole bunch of crazy shit going on in this fucking world, and like you don't want to know any of this shit. And it's so fucking great. Like if you've ever seen the movie, definitely go check it out again. There's so much good shit in there to really like uh entice you into it. And then if you ever get the chance to, definitely read the books. It's John dies at the end, and this book is full of spiders by David Wong. Those are the books. And then the movie is John dies at the end. It used to be on Netflix. I don't think it's on there anymore. So it might be kind of hard to find, but if you ever get the chance to watch it, definitely check it out, and definitely read the books. The reason why I wanted to recommend it is because I love the movie so much, and it's also a book series for people who are looking for something to watch and read the books, watch the movie. You know what I
Well,
mean?
why don't you just watch a movie with subtitles?
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Or you can have someone just recount it to you in a different language
Ooh,
while you're trying.
fancy.
But yeah. Do you want me to do my TV show, because we've only got like 4 minutes maybe, so we're gonna end this.
I'm gonna
And
say, yeah. If we, I don't want to
we
cut you short.
no, let's just end it here.
Okay.
Let's call it an episode. So thanks for listening, guys. This was our recommendation episode, and it went fairly well. It went really well. I think we got a lot of good recommendations out there, and hopefully you guys listen back to them and give us your feedback on which ones you really enjoyed, which ones you hated. You know, Julian's, I'm sure you're not going to like any of his recommendations.
No, they're fucking terrible.
I've written them down. I feel like I've wasted the paper I wrote them on. So I wouldn't blame you guys if you want to send all your hate mail towards him and just tell me how amazing my recommendations are. I can already see the comments right now, just like telling me how
Real quick, who was that wrestler you were shitting on earlier? I'm gonna DM him your address. He's gonna come down there and just beat the fuck out of you.
you're gonna send CM Punk to beat me up. You're gonna have to clone him like 20 times.
Is he dead? I don't know who this guy is.
I'm. You don't know who CM Punk is?
Nah,
Oh fuck, he's that guy.
he's that guy. You know, the face, the nose,
He
the
left.
face.
He left wrestling. He was a pro wrestler a couple years ago, and he left and joined the UFC. And I think he lost every single match he ever did for like the whole time he's been in the UFC. I think Dana White officially, his last match, Dana White officially said that he's never gonna fight again. Like he's just been pissed off because he got signed and he didn't fight for 2 years. He was just training, I think, for 2 years. And then every fight that he had ever fought in the UFC, he lost brutally, like badly. He lost really bad. Like it wasn't just like kind of getting slapped around. He like really got fucked up every single match.
Yeah, well,
And
this guy's gonna fuck you up.
yeah, that's the guy that's gonna fuck me up.
Yeah, I'm gonna DM him right after this podcast,
Yeah,
and
maybe I'll wind up with some type of psychosomatic fucking thing where I can't use my legs. Maybe then he'll have like a 50-50 chance then.
hey, it looks like the odds are in his favor.
Fucking choke him out.
You just beat the fuck out of him and just.
Or he tries to break my legs and I just can't feel anything.
He just for like 2 years straight. All he's been working on is kicks to the legs. He just stomping on your legs. You're like, I feel nothing.
He comes across a guy in a wheelchair and he's fucked. But all right, guys, this has been a great episode. We hope you really enjoyed the recommendations. We really enjoyed giving them, and we're gonna definitely go check out each other's recommendations just to shit on each other for having terrible taste. But thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in another episode of the Cleaning Out My Closet podcast. Kiss your dad for us.